Guys, stop apologizing for being proud of yourself. Sometimes people that talk to me, they'll be like, oh my God, they'll be like, I'm sorry, man. I feel like I'm just talking about myself. I'm like, hey man, listen, it's okay to believe in yourself around me, buddy. Okay? You're giving me hope. When good shit happens to people, I get hopeful. Cause that's the positive about being selfish.
Welcome to FredTalk, where if you're not learning, hopefully you're laughing.
Welcome to FredTalk. I am your host, Freddie Valoy, and I'm doing the intro today with Cristal because Cristal knows what's up. Me and Cristal, we're like long lost interdimensional siblings or something like that. Extrovert extraordinaire. Cristal, what we talk about? We talked about you growing up in New Jersey, being Latina and living down south, and what that was like. What else?
I would say the Northern culture shock.
Yes, Northern culture shock.
Sex, love, and dating.
Sex, love, and dating. That was like most of the conversation. You had some good perspective on that.
And I would say international interactions.
She's the international woman of kind of mystery. Guys, without any further ado, here's your episode. Cristal Vivanco.
Thank you.
All right, guys, I know I told you that we're going to get to the episode, but first, a word from our sponsors. Guys, ownthechaos.com. Go to that website, sign up for their stock watch list. It's an email they give you every day about the 5 stocks to watch that day, right? You come to this podcast for funny, for whatever, but you also can sometimes get your money up. If you go to Own the Chaos and they'll get your shit right. They got 3 streams a week. I'm on the Thursday one every 3:30 to try to make finance funny, and I do it most of the time. Sometimes we crash and burn, but isn't that life? Guys, go to ownthechaos.com to support our sponsor and sign up for the stock watch list. It'll be good for you. Everybody's getting into stocks these days. Don't be the fucking idiot that doesn't get into stocks. Okay, guys, without any further ado, here's Cristal Vivanco. Bye. Come to my comedy show. All right, Cristal, thank you for coming on the show, by the way. I've been dying to have you on.
Thank you for having me. Me too.
Yeah. So one of the questions I like to ask people that I'm just starting to, I like to get people's perspective when they moved from somewhere that's culturally different from where they grew up or whatever. Mm-hmm. So you're correct me if I'm wrong, you're a Hispanic gal from New Jersey?
That is correct.
Okay. This is like
ding, ding, ding. Wins the prize.
Welcome to Culture Court. Dun, dun.
You know what? I took the Airhorn app off my phone. I didn't have enough space, or else there you go.
So how long you been in the South now?
10 years.
Okay. So tell me what's that been like from you? For like your perspective on the South, coming from New Jersey, being Latina.
Yeah, no, of course. It's been an interesting transition. I mean, I've seen Raleigh grow, and it's completely like night and day between when I got here August 2011. So I went to NC State and I graduated, and then I thought I was going to go back to New York, and I decided to stay a little bit longer. So
why didn't you end up ultimately going back?
Mostly because the salary was better down here for a recent grad, especially as a marketing major.
Yeah.
I had a good job. So
people will say, like, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. I say, if you could scrape by in New York, you can make it anywhere. Like you, like people be having just regular jobs. They just can't leave that, like the vibe.
Right. They're like, I live in a 2-inch by 2-inch box and it is heaven. Like, no, I think that was the other reason I didn't move. Cause I knew like what a starting salary would get me.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was spoiled living in Raleigh, having so much space, like even in my dorms, I never lived with 6 suite mates. I lived with one roommate, and we had a person that would come and clean, like, because that's what the university gave us. So it was just interesting being in a place that has so much space and natural light and a lot of windows. I'm like, I just can't. I'm like a plant. I must be watered by the sun. No. I was like, I can't do this to myself. It was really it.
I feel like North Carolina is going to be the new Florida in regards to like New Yorkers moving. Like,
oh my God.
Like I see that already. I'm seeing more New Yorkers, which I kind of like. I like the mix.
Yeah, no, definitely. The other thing too, it's funny. When I first got down here, like my first semester, I said, I'm leaving. I hated it. I didn't think Raleigh was the place for me, mostly because There weren't as many Latinos. I did want to go to a big state school. And I knew it was going to be a culture shock, obviously, like being in the South, but it was just the authentic places to eat is really what I was missing. I was missing that, home away from home, any place that would have empanadas, just like all these small things that you take for granted.
Yep.
And everything was a little bit more culturally appropriated here, a little more sanitized for the gourmet palate, which I love all that food, don't get me wrong, but sometimes you just want a $2 empanada. Why is it so hard?
Yeah, that people say that New York's expensive, but if you know where to go, you can get food cheap, clothing
nails cheap, like your hair done cheap.
Yep. Yeah, you're super cheap.
You pay 3 times more here, honestly, for just very basic things than you do in major cities because there's, so much competition. I feel like here, not so much.
Yeah.
But as the years have gone by, especially after, I want to say like 2015, 2016 is really when I saw a massive boom of not only just people moving down here, but the community in and of itself taking an interest in Black and brown communities and making spaces for us, but also making sure that there are authentic places to eat, or at least advertising them better.
Yeah, they've gotten better with that. Even if it's some rich white people traveling to South America to steal recipes, I'm okay with that as long as the food's good.
Right. They're like, care. I lived in this, for 2 weeks, and then I went here, and I'm like, okay, so you actually went to the place, you tried the mezcal, you did all the things. I'm like, I can't fault you for it if you took a good idea and then you adopted it here. So it is what it is. But now I think, one, with the pandemic, people have flocked here for sure.
Yeah.
Just the fact that we're able to have more greenery and outside spaces, just like mentally, emotionally, I think people fared a little bit better living in the South versus in cooped up, city sky rises in New York. And a lot of my friends did reach out to me actually during the pandemic, via social media and being like, hey, how do you like Raleigh? We're thinking about moving. How do you like Raleigh? My grandparents are thinking about going down and moving to North Carolina.
Yep.
So it was really interesting, some of the conversations that I had with people that I would never think their families would ever move down here because they were like 3rd, 4th generation. Their family lived in New Jersey. They have restaurants or just family businesses up there.
Yeah.
And you would think like, oh, they could have a house in Denver. They could have wherever. And they're like, no. This is where we want to go. Please tell us all the things. Where should we move? I'm like, oh my God, I feel so special.
It's
finally,
crazy, right?
It took you like 7 years, but come and visit me in Raleigh.
They see those Instagram photos. They're like, damn, she's like
so much fun.
Oh shit. So how many people thought you were yelling when you first got here and you were just regular talking?
I'm dead.
Because we're both from the North, which is loud, and we're both Hispanic, which is loud. Like it's loud on loud.
Yes. No. I don't think it was the yelling per se. I always keep a very professional tone wherever I go, unless it's obviously when I'm with my friends, then I get loud. But no, I think the first reaction was like, she's a bitch, because she's really sarcastic. That was always, I think that was always the first thing. And then people were intimidated and they're like, I just feel like you could beat me up. And then they, find out that I'm from Newark and they're like, oh my God, kind of thing. And I'm like, okay.
They're like, oh my God, why are you stabbing me? It used to be
the murder capital of the world. And that's Detroit now. Okay, get it right. So it was interesting to have people who didn't know me just make all these kinds of assumptions of you. And I'm like, look, I'm all for having the hard conversations face to face and not having people be nice to my face and then talk shit. I think that was the one thing I was like, if you don't like me, that's totally fine. I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. Like, I'll still respect you.
Yeah.
But let's not throw shade if you don't actually know who I am.
I do miss the bluntness of Northern culture over Southern culture. Like, and even that too, like you just said, like you were sarcastic. Like Northern girls are like, when you meet them, I used to just like talking to girls just at the beginning to like, they'll chop with you. They'll fuck with
You'll
you.
just, it's just, you're just talking shit and whatever. It doesn't have to mean anything, but I think, maybe some feelings were hurt, maybe saying certain things too raunchily, too blunt, whatever the case was.
It's an art.
Right. It is an art, and you have to understand it. And I think that's why when people are like fluent in sarcasm, I'm like, you know what? Good. Yeah. Because I can't have anyone that's like, my feelings are hurt, especially if you're Latino too. You get roasted out of love. So it's like double whammy for us.
Latinos will roast someone into not learning Spanish. If your Spanish is too fucked up, they'll be like, yo, your shit is all tato de barata, blah, blah, blah. And like a lot of Puerto Ricans be like, I'm too shy to speak Spanish. And that's because like,
I know.
Yeah, people, we do it to ourselves a little bit.
Yes.
My accent is fucked up, but I don't give a fuck. I'll be like, yo no sabo, I don't give a fuck.
No sabo, kid.
You know, those dudes that can't speak, they'll be like, yo no sabo. Like,
oh my God. No, I mean, it's funny because when I went to Puerto Rico, this was a few years ago, I went with my sister and some of my friends, and you know, they speak Spanish there most of the time. They can speak English. Of course, they have an accent.
Yeah.
And my little sister was like, wow, I didn't realize like people in Puerto Rico spoke Spanish. I'm like, Spanish is technically their first language. English, I would say, comes second, depending on the household. But it was just interesting to see, even it didn't matter if you had the broken English or broken Spanish, whatever. People are just willing to talk to you either way, or, you know, Spanglish, mix it in there and everyone understands each other. It doesn't really matter if it's perfect or not, so long as you can communicate. So I do think to the detriment of a lot of people, parents, you know, if it wasn't perfect, then don't even try.
Yeah.
And then, because your entire family is literally going to be like,
they got to clown you if you can't.
And now that they're older, you're like, I'm doing Spanish. I'm doing Duolingo. Please talk to me in Spanish. I'm like, I'm going to try. But it's very difficult for me to do that switch. I think sometimes when I didn't meet a person, start speaking Spanish to them. So if it's like an international person and I met with them and they introduced themselves in Spanish, then in my brain, I'm like, oh, we're speaking Spanish. And that's like how our relationship will stay.
But versus, if I just started talking Spanish to you out of nowhere, you'd be like, wow, it'd take you a second to adjust.
I mean, like, we do a little bit of Spanglish for sure.
Are you fluent?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Same here. I'll probably use some improper grammar at some point, but I can talk and like have a conversation and make people laugh in Spanish, which is really the most important thing.
Exactly.
I want to dumbly speak like 4 languages. Like, I want people to clearly be like, obviously he hasn't perfected the language, but he's a good time.
So
like,
this might be me being impartial, but I do believe that if you know Spanish, the other Romance languages will come naturally to you.
Agreed.
I learned French almost fluently pretty much when I was in high school. And then I took an accelerated semester at NC State. So I was fairly fluent where I could go to Paris and you know, talk by myself, whatever, and like still be able to manage my stuff. And I'm okay. Again, sometimes you obviously need a translator. My friend spoke super like very fast Parisian French.
Yeah.
But I could hold my own. And they're like,
great.
They're like, I'm surprised like you didn't get lost on the metro today. I'm like, no, I can talk to people. I can read, you know, all that good stuff. And then when I was in Italy, I learned Italian the summer before I left. And then I took an Italian class while I was there. And I grew up in a very heavy like Portuguese, Brazilian, Portuguese, like from Portugal. So I knew how to speak up until I was 10 years old, Portuguese. I can understand it. And again, get by. So I'm like, when you have one base, but especially Spanish, because it's so similar, like grammatically, the verbs, all that good stuff, all the other ones kind of lay in place. So I've been lucky enough to, you know, sometimes it's funny when I used to be at NC State and the French students or Italian students would be chatting, they didn't think anyone else could hear what they were saying. Meanwhile, I'm like,
yeah,
I know exactly what you're saying, talking shit. But it's great because it's not about me. And I'd be like, hey guys, just making a friend. I'm like, oh, she speaks French.
I love that, especially when you go to Europe to travel, like, or like DR, like, because a lot of Europeans travel to the Caribbean. Just seeing someone like, I was kind of conversational in Italian, and I met an Italian couple, and it was fun to like work the muscles.
And they're also trying to like practice their Spanish.
Yep.
And it was funny, when I was in Rome, they actually speak Roman. So sometimes even like being lost in Italian, it's like half Italian, half Latin based is like Roman. So true Romans, that's what they speak. And they're very proud, and they really don't even want to speak Italian sometimes. Yeah. So you'd go up to somebody and you're kind of lost. You're like, scusa, you know, can you help me? And then they'd speak something and I'm like, just frozen. I'm like, I don't know what this is. And then somebody would be like, they're probably a tourist. You should probably speak Italian instead of Roman. I did that in Barcelona when I went to visit my cousin. I put the TV on and it was on their regional dialect, Catalan. And I was like, I know we all have different ways of speaking Spanish, but I can understand like all of them, I thought. And I was like, I was like, these next 2 weeks are going to suck. And then my cousin comes up. He's like, why do you have this channel on? Puts it on the regular Spanish channel. I was like, oh my God, thank God. He's like, I don't even understand that. Yeah. That was wild. When I was in Barcelona, again, not thinking about it, but we went through the subway And as we're coming out, I'm looking at, they have a lot of X's, and I'm looking to find where our stop is. And I thought I was having a moment, like a heart attack, maybe dyslexia. I don't know what was going on because the words looked inverted to me. And my cousin, who also lives there, was like, no, todo está en catalán. I'm like, I'm looking for this. I'm like, why is there so many different languages on this one sign? But it's because everything is written there in that language. So I thought that was not something you think about until you're in that situation.
Would you ever learn a non-romance language? Like Japanese or Mandarin or anything like that?
It's funny. My dad always wanted me to learn Arabic and Chinese, especially, being a business person.
Yeah.
And I think like I really like languages and certain things just click for me. Yeah. I tried kind of to learn German. But I don't know. It's so on the other side of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
That I'm like, when would I ever really I'm a very practical person. When would I ever need it?
That's true.
Now, if I'm going there to like work or study or whatever the case may be, I'm almost always like, okay, let's do some sort of a month, a few weeks, whatever, so I can get around for sure. But I feel like even people who like, oh, I traveled through Thailand. Yes, they speak English, but I would be like, I would love a translator.
Yeah.
Because even us being in Mexico, now that I went, I mean, they can tell you have a different accent. So to them, it doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, you're a foreigner, and you're still going to, they're still going to try and get more money from you.
Yeah.
So it's better always to travel with a local, and especially being a woman, if you're traveling by yourself.
Yeah. Do you get a woman translator or male?
I mean, either or, but usually it's definitely better to travel with a guy.
Oh yeah. Cause that's his way to make money. He's going to protect you. He's going to make sure everything's good.
And also if people try to hassle you or like harass you or whatever, they usually don't if you have a guy present. And it was crazy. When I was in Italy, same thing, like not even going through customs, but going through Belgium, I met this really nice Italian singer on the plane over from Newark Airport. We became besties, got drunk on the plane. I turned 21 and it was my birthday the day before. And he was like, stick with me. I will like get you through the places. And I didn't understand what he meant. I was like, sure, I need a charger for my phone. Like I'll just hang out with him. He's going to Milan. I'm going to Rome. And I would get stopped if he was walking too far ahead of me. And I was just like, being a turtle. Look. And I had like plain clothes policemen come up to me and ask me for my papers, where I was going, all these things. And I was like a little bit confused in the airport. Why is a security officer like coming and asking me all these questions? He'd step in and be like, no, she's with me. And immediately, okay. And they'd let me go. And the same thing happened when I was in line, like showing my passport, like got the 9th degree. Who am I here? Am I here with my father? Do I have a boyfriend? Like things that have nothing to do with an intake fucking form.
Yeah.
And then he'd step in and be like, she's with me. And then the question stopped and I could just go.
So how, as a woman traveling internationally, because that's a big fucking thing to pick the right man to guide you through this whole fucking thing. Like, how do you know you're not like, have you ever tried to talk to one and you'd be like, nah, this dude's giving me sex traffic vibes. Let me go on to like, how does a woman safely find a male guide?
Honestly, this man was gay to the 10th degree. So I've never gone wrong with my gay besties anywhere.
Yeah.
And we're still friends to this day.
Nice.
But yeah, it was, I feel like women tend to feel a little bit more secure around gay guys anyway. Just because there's none of that like sexual anything pressure.
I'm not gay, but I gyrate my hips and I could tell that women are like, he might be gay. So I feel safe around him.
No, but I think also it just depends on, what kind of vibe you give off. If you're a more friendly type of person, and we had 8.5 hours on a plane, talked about all kinds of things. So there's a little bit more of a rapport built, I think, versus just like a random stranger.
Okay. So, how many countries do you have like guides in right now? Because somebody might be traveling to one of these countries as a girl and they'd be like, yo, Cristal, hook me up with your dude.
Yeah, I would say like this goes for guys and girls, like 12, 13. Yeah, I have a lot of friends that like moved abroad.
Oh my God, 12 and 13, bro. See, you're a high level extrovert, Cristal. You and I have a lot of similarities. I think that's why you and I connect so well. So what's it like? We were talking earlier about some of the things you've recognized as an extrovert that you need to watch out for. But like, What's your extrovertedness like? Where has it bit you in the ass? Where, tell me about it.
So I think sometimes my extrovertedness bites me in the ass when I overcommit or over include. Because I'm very particular about groups of friends that interact with groups of friends.
Yes.
And this is not to sound like snooty or whatever, but it's just like I have friends that I can go and do First Friday and drink wine and appreciate art. And then I have people who could give a flying fuck.
Yes.
And they ruin the experience for other people because they're not really into it.
Yeah.
Right. So I really try to be cognizant about who's going to be interested in what, just like, again, because I know my friends. And then who should meet people. Once we started doing a little mix and match, and that's happened to be before where like I tried to blend too many groups.
Yes, it happens.
And then like drama, kafama that I wasn't even aware of was happening. And
Did it involve sex? It involves sex.
Well, this happened on my I was like, now that you mention it, it was my birthday weekend beach trip, and some drama kaflama happened because of that. Yeah, for sure. But no, this is just like regular parties and like going out in downtown and stuff, and just like inviting people to different shindigs. Yeah, it's just like a weird, like the vibe changes, and it's not as innocent or fun as it's supposed to be because people are either on edge or they're tiptoeing away from other people, and it's just like these very subliminal sort of
you brought up a good
drama.
point that we want more people there because sometimes
but not everybody does.
Not everybody wants to have a big ass group, so you got to be considerate enough as an extrovert to be like, hey, is it cool if I and some of your friends will be like, nah, just like
and then some of my friends too, I'll invite them to things and they think it's only them, but I've invited like 2-3 more people. And so then they might feel a certain kind of way, like, oh, I thought it was just us. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. If I like thought if I didn't tell you specifically that it wasn't just us, because I extended the invitation to like 2 other people. Yeah. And they were just like hoping for more one-on-one because they didn't, not that they didn't like the people. They were just like, I thought it was this interaction and this requires more mental energy. Yep. Versus with me, I'm like, the more the merrier. I, have all the mental energy for all kinds of friends. But just being a little bit, I think, more susceptible to that. And like, as we get older, right, we know our friends and who can handle what and like what kind of vibe they're going for. So I think that's where like my extroverted has bit me in the ass. And then the other times where it thrives is when you're traveling, you make a lot of friends.
Oh, yes, it's great. Yeah.
And people are just nicer to you, just in general to like get by and if you need help or if you need this and whatever. So it's nice because locals will actually not look at you as this person that, is here to drop money, but it's like, oh, you're actually fun. Like, let's hang out. It happened in Mexico. Actually, I was at a bar and ran into my tour guide when we were in the cenotes. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, you're here with the other tour guides. And I'm like, guys, like, here are my girlfriends, like, let's have fun, whatever. And we had a great time. And it's just, I don't think a lot of people would be like, let's include the person that we paid for this service. We're not friends kind of thing to include them like in the party. I'm like, we're here. For one day, we're gonna have a good time. Like, why not?
In that context, they're part of the hang. They're part. Yeah, they like that's like a
we don't have that many friends here, so why would you not include the person that you had a good time with, even though it was like in an educational kind of vibe, Yeah.
So what's I hear horror stories about the single life and the dating world. And
you and me both.
I'm living a different reality than that, and I'm interested. I'm like, is it a war torn country in the dating world?
I'm weak. Yeah, it's an interesting place to be for sure. Personally, again, I haven't had terrible dates, so that's another benefit of being an extrovert. You can like talk to a wall and make a friend, Yep.
But me and my sister say the same thing. We're like, I like dating was fun. It was just like,
right. I'm like, I meet some people. Yeah, we don't click, but that's okay. Like, it was still a nice conversation. We had good food, whatever. For some of my girlfriends, fairly recently, I think the funniest thing is when people become a little too obsessed. With a person. Like way too hard from the get-go, and you're like,
they're like, ha ha ha, sending like 6 messages.
They're like, oh my God, I'm gonna come visit you in the US. You're like, bro. Like, calm down. We made out for, 2 hours at the club. That doesn't mean
They trying to get papers.
right.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a green card. No. But it was just funny. It was just funny. This happened to one of my girlfriends recently. And, he wrote her a poem. Like after
Dudes don't write poems anymore.
I know. And I was like, not going to lie. Latino men, like in Latino America, are what we would call cursi, right? They are a little more corny. They are more romantic.
Yeah.
More telenovela for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was one of those things where, coming from this side of the border, you don't get a poem after the club. You definitely don't get flowers while you're at the club, and you don't get a little heart-shaped photo. Like, it looked like it was made in paint editor of both of your faces of the selfie that he took.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
And we were just, when I'm telling you, when she showed us the WhatsApp messages, we were crying like on the floor. Me and my girlfriends at our Airbnb just fucking in tears. And I'm like, that's sweet, but also a little obsessive. Like, you met him 24 hours ago.
Yeah,
and you just kissed. Like, I can't even imagine what would happen if you guys slept together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What if like in another reality you get to look into like a crystal ball and you own it? That's why they call it a crystal ball. And they get to see their future and they're like the happiest. That was the guy that was going to give them everything they ever want. Like how do you think people would react to that? Like your friend, if she saw that in the future. I think
it just really depends on your attachment style.
That's true.
If you're one of those people that has a secure attachment and you're like, okay, this is the person for me. And, you believe in those things and maybe go on a little bit of faith. You're like, cool, I'm done searching. The search is over. I found the one kind of thing versus maybe avoiding. You're like, oh, he likes me. Bye.
Oh, that's right.
You know what I mean? It's like, ugh. Kind of thing. So
that'd be hilarious if she was like, somebody sees that future and is like, yeah, but the action was so corny. I'd rather be unhappy than I can't believe I would like something like that. Like
it's just, but you know what? I have to give props to that guy because you have to shoot your shot. We're in the middle of a fucking pandemic, junior year.
Yep.
It's like, go for it. If you get rejected, if she never, whatever, you did it. It doesn't matter. You met him for, she lives far away. Who the fuck cares? Yeah, maybe some girls laughing about you, but like, whatever. Then you see other people on TikTok where they started FaceTiming, they started chatting, and now somebody from London is flying to New York, someone from New York is flying to California, and they found their love, and like, it can happen.
Yeah.
So you either can give it a try or you can make fun of it and then just move on and then wonder like, what if?
Yeah. If I was single, I'll be sending bitches like macaroni cards with the glued macaroni. Like,
will you be my Valentine? With a little Pez dispenser.
Yeah, some rotini or whatever.
Yeah. No, for me personally, it hasn't been terrible. But again, I'm like, I've gone on a few dates. I'm working at a bar in downtown. So I work Friday and Saturday nights. And oftentimes like guys want to meet then. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm working.
Yeah.
So it's either during the week. So it's honestly for me always been like a scheduling kind of thing. And I've gone on a few dates and like they've gone pleasantly well, but it's nothing where I'm like daydreaming about this man. You know what I mean?
What do you think, we're going to generalize here, but what do you think is the issue with the dating world these days? And obviously there's like the apps and we got a lot of choices because of the apps and stuff like that. But like, what have you seen personally that guys do? Like there's no follow through or something like that.
I think it's a little bit, honestly, a little bit about everything. The fact that we are so conditioned to have instant gratification that half of the time people are on the apps, not for the right reasons, really just to get validation because they're not feeling themselves.
That's dark. Like you just wasting someone's time just for your
for your own pleasure.
Yes, yeah.
And it's just like my golden rule of life is do to others as you wish to be done to yourself. I don't waste people's time.
Yeah.
Even when like guys on Hinge will message me and they send something super nice and I literally will be like, thank you. I know this took, courage to do so.
Yeah.
I'm not interested, but yes, this would be a great place to eat or yes, whatever was the question or the prompt. I follow through with that response and oftentimes like it's been positive and they've been chill about it and you have like a nice conversation and that was it. And I think the other times too, it's so many options. Like when I went down to Playa del Carmen in Tulum where I was recently, you know, me and my girls were like, all right, we got to start 2 weeks prior just because it's New Year's Eve. We're trying to do something fun. Like maybe people know, just get recommendations too. It's not even like, oh, let's go on a date, because it was a girls trip. And that was first and foremost, like what we were down there to do.
Yeah.
But there was I had like so many matches, and not to toot my own horn. Same thing with them. It was like, you have to go through like 100+.
You get fatigue after.
It's too much.
Yeah, yeah.
It's too much. It's like, and then you just shut down. Because even for me, I'm like, I'm super extrovert, but if I have to respond and keep track of, and it's the same, that's the other thing too. How original are you? If it's, hey, how was your week? You don't give a fuck about my week, and I don't give a fuck about yours because we're strangers. We've literally never met. The weather was, what am I going to say? Like, give me something better to go on to make me remember you.
What's the best one you've gotten?
Oh my God. The weirdest I've gotten was like, someone said something about, you know, I wish you were a fart so I could like hold you in or something crazy. And I busted out laughing. But this was years ago.
Yeah.
To this day, I still remember it.
Yeah.
So did it work? Clearly. Did we go on a date? No. But was it memorable? Don't remember his name. Just remember the line.
Holy shit.
Yeah. No, I've gotten some really nice ones, like my smile, or like something that I said in a prompt, or
nice.
They finished like a quote, or, you know, a song or whatever. Those are interesting. And then sometimes people like actually being able to guess where I was in a picture. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And you know, you have that kind of
like,
conversation.
I went here too.
Yeah. You're like, oh, how was this?
That's a good pickup. That's good.
Yeah. So I think trying to find that mutual, like, connection first, like that one thing you both can talk about.
Yeah.
Or if you genuinely have a question, like, hey, I'm going here, or whatever. Like even on Instagram, I've had some guys who are photographers that I've liked their pics and comment on, and they do amazing photography all over the world. And then we just got to chatting because they're like, oh, I saw you went to Cuba. How was this? And I'm like, here's where you should go. And just more of a like recommendation kind of thing sparks more conversation, I've noticed, than just like a compliment.
What do you think women could do better in the dating scene?
Oof. Honestly, same thing goes validation. I think like sometimes you're just not feeling it. You haven't gone on a date. You're not feeling sexy, or you haven't had sex in a long time, and you're just like antsy to do something different. And you want someone to tell you that you're pretty. Like who doesn't want someone to tell you that they're pretty, right? Because you're not hearing it from your roommate or your parents or your friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not enough people are hitting the fire emojis kind of thing. And just being cautious of like, okay, why am I on here? Am I on here for someone to tell me that I look hot, that I look good? Or am I actually on here because I want to find someone, or at least I'm open to?
Yeah.
I think oftentimes like I go into dating and dates in general with the notion like I'm going to talk to someone new, even if like there's no potential love interest.
Yeah.
I meet someone cool and interesting. And that's kind of how I start it anyway. And I end up having really good dates. It's not going to be end all be all. I'm probably not going to be your girlfriend. You're probably not going to be my boyfriend kind of thing, but you're going to meet a cool human being. So
I like your approach. I have the same approach to life. You just don't expect much from people, and you're almost like
lower your expectations.
Yeah.
This is okay. I was listening to Case Kenny. He has a great podcast about self-awareness and like being single. Mm-hmm. Single dude out of Chicago. Also my age. I want to say he's like 29 or something. And then Matthew Hussey, he's based in the UK. But it's really interesting to get the male's perspective on just like the things girls do, the things guys do, and just obviously because you have, your own echo chamber with your friends, fuck him, blah, 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 blah. But it's like at the end of the day, you have to take responsibility for doing or not doing of certain things.
Yep.
And then listening to them, one of the things that he said was you can lower your expectation for people. And this also as an extrovert, I've had to learn. If you have high expectations, then obviously you can be more disappointed. If you go in, not even go with the flow, you obviously have certain expectations, but you have higher standards than what you value. You connect with people that value the same. So you would connect with someone who has higher standards.
But your expectations can still be low.
Correct.
Ooh, I like that. That's a nice little nuance there in that whole thing. Yeah, I just expect humans to be humans, and humans are mostly fucking weird.
Right. They're irrational, they're ditzy, they forget. They're just like, it's not, because again, something that's important to you might not be important to them, or it's not top of mind, or that's just not how they operate, whether it's how they text, how they communicate, whatever the case may be. And if it's a new relationship, right, you still haven't established those bases. Yep. So if you want someone to compliment you all the time, then that's a conversation to be had. But it's also like, you have to reciprocate what you want to get.
I like with the shift in attitude towards dating apps, especially or like dating websites. Because when dating websites were out, it was like,
no, you're like a last resort.
Yeah. It was like, it was some weird shit.
In everybody's defense, it was fucking eHarmony.
Yeah.
Barf. Like,
but now there's
people use it and they got married and they, Christian Mingle and Farmers Unite, whatever the other one is. And I'm like, hey, do what you got to do to find love, I guess. The world is a hard place.
I love the shift on that because like we said, it was taboo. But now that Tinder, everyone's like, hey, look at my dick, whatever. Now Match.com and eHarmony are looked at as like high level.
Yes.
No, we met on. I've heard people say no, we met on Match, not Tinder. Like
You're already. Like, I paid for the premium subscription, $100 a month to find love. Okay, but you know what's the other thing? And I got to thank TikTok for it. One of the girls who actually works for Hinge. Yeah. She was breaking down like the percentages of women to men. So it's like women will have more options to swipe than men do, but it's also kind of like, what is the quality? So quality versus quantity is definitely a thing. And then based on interaction, who interacts more? Women interact more, men interact less, but they swipe more. Okay. So it's like who's picking, who's choosing, all that kind of stuff. So it was very interesting to just hear the metrics behind it. But one of the things that she said, it's like, ladies, you have to make sure that not even just like your profile, and to retract actually back to what you were saying about like, what's the best thing someone said? When I get people that say the UX and the user experience of my profile is on point, that to me, as a fucking marketing nerd, I'm like, thank you. Yeah. Because that means I'm marketing myself correctly.
Let me guess. You lined up your photos. I've never been on the app, but I know you can put like 5 photos, right?
Yeah. Well, you know,
you're like, I want them to see this one first.
No.
I want them to see this
I was like,
side.
I'm gonna show you because so I always have test photos. I like test my stuff just to see which ones interact the most, and then I've had some classic ones through the years that doesn't matter which like app or even on my Instagram or whatever. People always, guys, girl, doesn't matter. I'm like, okay, well, people, this is like a crowd pleaser. We got to put it in there.
Yes. Oh, it's like doing stand up. Like I keep the jokes that work. This one I know will work mostly anywhere. So it's like, I remember this one. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, you gotta give them,
Yeah. Can you send me these? I want to put them up on the screen for the viewers to watch. Yeah.
No, for sure. The newest thing that I really like that they did is voice prompts. So
you can just like talk. And,
yes, you can just. Great. So one of mine.
Nextel's back.
Yep. Fucking hated that shit. It's like the ghetto in middle school.
Yeah. You didn't have a Nextel. That's why you hate it. That's why you hate it.
Yeah. No. I didn't want a Nextel. That chirping drove me insane. I was very so type cool. A, high achiever, and I was like, "Why are you distracting us from class? We're here to learn." Shut up. But I will say the voice message brings it one level because, as again, low expectations, but sometimes when people's voices, especially men, don't match how they look or what you think, you're like, womp womp. Ooh. I think that's the worst. Yeah. I'm like, you can be a good looking man, whatever, it doesn't matter. But like, if the tenor of your voice was, I don't know, not what I pictured it to be, just based on what you look like, I'm like
even the pictures he's fishing or working on a farm and then he talks and he's like, oh, like, why just go
out? Yeah. I'm just like, it's hard to come again. It's like it's a narrative I told myself, but it's hard to untell yourself these things again. Cause sometimes just based on the aesthetic of someone, you can kind of assume certain things, but
yeah. I like being surprised the other way too. When it's someone's voice, you're like, oh damn, it's like butter. It's like, just keep talking. Like fucking.
I'm like, this will be like, my friend Cristal, the one that smokes 10 packs of cigarettes a day. Especially after a night out of clubbing.
I mean,
do a lot of singing.
A cigarette at the right time in life will do you great things.
I don't smoke. I don't smoke any of the things, but my voice definitely changed, I think, from screaming too much in college.
Oh, that's what.
Because, you know, we sing, especially when you got that Don Omar playing.
Oh, yeah.
And that's actually how my voice changed. I asked my doctor, he's like, yeah, if you yell too much, you change your vocal cords.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, but you have a good voice. You got like Scarlett Johansson voice, where it's like a lower smoky. It's cool. You got a good voice.
Meow meow. No.
Oh, this is fun. All right, fucking. So, what do you think about the most, Cristal? This could be anything. Yeah, this is vague as yeah.
I was gonna say honestly, my next meal. Even while I'm making one meal, I'm thinking about the next meal.
You're like, if I eat this salmon now, then I can't eat, at the restaurant.
Yeah, I was just like, if I had breakfast, what am I going to have for lunch while I'm like finishing my toast? No, food is very important. I love to eat. So definitely it consumes a lot of my thoughts. But oftentimes I just think about the world sort of very generally. Like if I read something on the news and kind of how things affect us and I don't know, just like random serendipitous things. But sometimes I try not to think too much about world issues and what life could be just because it's depressing.
Oh yeah. It can get very, very dark.
Yeah. So I try and reel that in. It's a lot of like who I am in the world, what I should be doing, what I want to do, what I need to do kind of thing.
Yeah.
But food comes first.
I think some men need help in the streets, with pleasuring women. So like, cause I'm hearing women talk about the gender pay gap, but I think there's a gender orgasm gap that we need to address. Because at one time I was talking to a group of girls and they said that most of their sexual experiences were bad.
And I'm not going to lie when I tell you, I got to thank my girl Cassie for hosting this. And it's been on my to-do list to host one for my girlfriends, a sex toy brunch.
Oh, nice.
I went to one like 3 years ago and it was awesome. I got to meet, honestly, a lot of my new girlfriends that I've had. And it's very enlightening to be in a room with women who have had sex with men, but their type is definitely different than your type.
Oh, okay.
And then just like how their sexual experiences came to be.
Yeah.
That's, I think, as a woman, the most enlightening. Because one, there's a lot of things that you feel ashamed of or guilty of or confused about that is normal and happens to other women. And you're like, oh, I'm not a weirdo. Like these things are happening to me or I felt this way.
What are some of those things that they've said?
I feel like in college is like the most when I learned about stuff, but it's just like, for example, again, this is queefing.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where like it happens, it's funny, and like sex shouldn't be taken so seriously. Like if you don't laugh if you didn't laugh during sex at least once, then like you might have a good sex. Let me tell you. Like it can be all the things, sweet, sexy, whatever, but it has to be lighthearted. I think at the end of the day, you can't take yourself too seriously, especially, let's be real, when you're there. So that was one of those things where it's like, oh, okay. Like it isn't as embarrassing as you think about it. It's just like, grow up.
Yeah, I can't. I'd like to meet the guy that would actually get like weirded out about that. Like if a girl queefs and he's like, "Do you think I'm a joke?" Like his ego, he's just too much. Like fucking.
No, but it's funny because the other thing too that I realized, especially being on dating apps, men are so inauthentic. They're not creative. I've matched with someone. They sent me a DM and my girlfriend matched with them in the same day, the day before, the day after. And I was like, oh my God, look at this most bizarre thing that this person said to me. And we send it obviously in the girl chat.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God. And then from the woodwork, everybody has the same fucking text. And I'm like, men, first of all, the world is a small place. For as big as it is, it's small.
Yep.
I run into people at the airport all the time. I ran into someone on the way to Cancun. From Cancun to Raleigh.
From Tinder?
No. Oh. Like someone that I had not dated, but slept with a few times in Raleigh. They have a girlfriend. They're happy. It's fine. But it was just funny. I'm like, the world.
Yeah.
It's a small place. And especially if you're dating in Raleigh, I'm like, you can't be recycling, especially if it's stupid.
I feel like it's a numbers game for these guys. They don't want to type out, original messages. They just want to copy paste.
Right. No, it's definitely the copy paste game. And I'm like, well, first of all, women talk. Second of all, I'm gonna put you on blast on social media if you say some dumb shit. So, and if I find you, you're gonna get tagged. So, and the funniest thing is the last time I did that, this was during quarantine. One, because he sent me this ridiculous dick pic, and I was like, I sent it to my gay guy friends.
Unsolicited?
Yes.
Wow, damn, dude.
Unsolicited. And I was just like, first of all, I'm working at 10 a.m. in the morning. I haven't even finished my first cup of coffee. Like, give a girl a break. It's daylight. No, but secondly, I was like, whoa, is this real? Like this, I call him horse dick. Anyway, I sent it to my gay friends and they were like, there's no way this is real. And then now they're having conversations. So now all the gays know. And they're like, who is this? Da, da, da.
Whose dick is this?
Right. They're like, this is no, blah, 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 all the things. Then I sent it to my girlfriends. And one of my girlfriends responded who lives in Florida. When she was living in Charlotte, this dude did the same thing to her.
In Florida, he crossed state lines showing his dick?
State lines. Wow. I was like, the audacity knows no bounds.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what it is, the dating game. Just some of the shit that people do or say, you're like, who the fuck raised you?
It's almost like they're going for the shock factor. Like you see, like in a non-dating, non-sexual context, just like in content creation in general. Like everybody's going for the
wow fact.
Yeah, look at me, and then it's like I'm actually not. I was like that.
And the worst part that it sucks when it's someone who not just they're attractive, but like you had a decent conversation with. You're like, oh, you're smart, you're funny, blah blah blah, and then boom, and you're like,
yeah, yeah, that hurts.
Yeah, you're like, you're doing so well.
Yeah.
But I was like, no. And the funniest part is that this particular man, when I used to work at Watson Ward, he was there with one girl. And now that I work at the Merchant, he was there with a different girl. And I was just like, LOL, you don't remember me, but I remember you.
This is not the city to be a playboy.
Nope.
This is not.
This is
city.
definitely not. Not on today's world.
What is this? Like, this city has a couple million people, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dating game, especially because I feel like so many more, speaking of people that have moved down, I mean, the median age in Raleigh is 35. We are a young professional town. It's 18 to 35, 35 being the median. Okay. And then there's young couples. So recently engaged, recently married, on their first child.
Yeah.
It's a very young town. So the dating pool, I mean, my news feed is just engagement, marriage, birth, after another, just like during April to October.
There's a marriage fetish going on out here. And it's like,
y'all.
Look,
I'm happy shaking my ass on a yacht. $1.2 million yacht in Miami. Okay, you can't say nothing to me.
Wait, so you can't do that if you're engaged?
I mean, you can,
but probably not.
But you got to pay for it. I'm sure your significant other is paying for it. No, and that's the thing. I think it's just being single in your 20s is such a liberating thing.
Oh yeah,
you just have so many interesting experiences, and that was one of the things.
How old are you?
I'm 28.
Oh yeah, so it's all like character development.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm like, as much as, again, if I met everyone's like, if you meet the right person, that will change. I'm like, sure, I can understand that, but am I going to actively, I don't know, put myself in a situation where, and again, this is just from seeing some of my friends who they can't be alone. Like, you never learned to be by yourself and do things for you because you've hopped from relationship to relationship. Every 2 years, every 3 years, a different boyfriend. And I just want to know how, one, you get these boyfriends, but two, I'm like, maybe the single life isn't for you, but there's something to be said when you cannot be single longer than 6 months in your adulthood. I mean, we don't finish developing until we're 25.
Yeah.
And you've attached yourself to a person.
Agreed. I had a couple
for that long.
I was in a group of people and this couple met when they were 14 and everyone was like, oh, and I was like, ew. I was like, that's like incest. Like y'all met way too early.
Okay. You know? And this is what I told my baby sister. And you know what? Props to her for listening to me. I'm like, if you don't got a job and a car and you're not in college, don't even date. What's the point? Your children. All these kids out here trying to be grown, looking like divorced moms at 12. And I'm like, calm the fuck down. Stay ugly. Appreciate the glow up.
But they got to
work for it.
They got to go through that on their own, right? Like, I feel like getting cheated on is kind of a rite of passage, right? Or like, I mean, or I'll say heartbreak. I'll make it more vague. Heartbreak. Yeah. Like,
no, heartbreak is, but I think also like everything is so dramatic when think about middle school and like you being able to talk to a crush.
Oh,
you were so like, you'd
yeah.
rather die than like say one wrong thing to your crush. Like that's how melodramatic you are at that age.
Yeah.
And everything is exasperated. So, you know, focus on yourself. It's okay to have crushes.
Yeah.
Do you really need to be dating? No, like don't do grown things when you're not grown is how I feel. I feel like, again, I've babysat kids and like my friends have kids and mentored a lot of middle school kids. And sometimes I'm like, guys, enjoy the fact that you don't have to pay fucking bills, that you have the freedom to literally do whatever you want in the sense of like, yeah, you got mom and dad and whatever, but you're a kid, like enjoy what that means, because as soon as you get into a relationship or you start having sex, there's all these other things. Now you kind of moved into the adult world and you're not ready for it emotionally, physically, mentally, but you're dealing with these adult things and not all children are equipped to deal with them.
No.
And especially on social media, you're seeing depression and suicide rates skyrocketing. I'm just like,
I think a lot, not a lot, but there's a good amount of these marriages and engagements that are just for the gram.
Okay, this is the other thing too. It's the divorce wave. Because people that I know that got married, and I've dated a few, got married in their early 20s. Now they're in their mid 30s and they're on divorce number 1.
Yeah.
Luckily, they don't have children, but if you did have kids,
good for them. I congratulate people that get divorced.
Oh, like, 100%.
To me, that is that's a huge one.
Yeah, I'm like, divorce to me isn't a dirty word. Like, sure, you were in love and you were young, but one of the things, like with one of the guys that I was dating, I asked him, because I truly just wanted to know, I'm like, how were you in a relationship for so long? And then towards the end, it was like a very sexless marriage. I'm like, that must be hard on a person. Yeah. And I'm like, why? What happens? Like, where was the shift that you said, I want to be with this person? And then where was the shift where you said you didn't want to? And for him, he was like, well, I was 25 and I thought that's what I was supposed to do. Ooh. And we had been together for 5 years and we were going into grad school. And he's like, honestly, if I would have dated her one more year and just waited, gone into grad school together, we probably wouldn't have gotten married.
Because he would have saw grad school women.
And just like it just real bills, real worlds, what it means to run a household, like real life shit.
Yeah.
Because when you're in college or when you don't have a job or you're just like on mommy and daddy's money and you have to make your own money, like
that's a whole different world.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Life doesn't hit you.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Until you leave that bubble. So, you get that awakening as a married couple dealing with all these things. And then you realize 3, 4, 5 years in, you're like, we're trying to make it work because that's what we're supposed to do. But like, I'm very unhappy.
Yeah. Red and I are 9 years in. We're good. And like, I still find myself, like, people ask, why aren't you married? Like, I just want to say, because marriage doesn't look like fun.
Honestly, that's the appropriate response.
Because it just doesn't. And she's of the mindset of like, she understands. Like, I tell people, I like, look for a happy and healthy relationship. Stop looking for marriage.
Yes.
Like,
yes, absolutely.
Because when you're looking for marriage, you see all the red flags. You're gonna ignore them because the goal is marriage. If the goal is a happy, healthy relationship, you can't fake that.
Right. Right.
And then if marriage comes out of that, fucking great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Like, this whole thing, I don't know. I get asked a lot. Like, so when you get married? I'm like, why is
that's such a rude question to ask. I hate when people are like, so when are you like gonna date someone? So when are you? I'm like, it's
a boring question.
It's a boring question. It's like, first of all, it's none of your business. But second of all, like, marriage isn't for everyone. And I'd take the Oprah approach. Oprah has her man for 25 years.
I would definitely be a Stedman. I would definitely marry rich.
I'm like, to me, it means more that you're actually with me and we built this life together.
Yeah.
Not having a piece of paper than having a piece of paper and literally hating our lives after.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Again, and that's what some people want to do. Like, some people want to be moms. Some people want to be wives. I'm like, I just want to find a man that I can travel with and make me come. Like,
I understand.
Who likes good food.
That pressure people talk about, that society pressure. Because me being a person that's so like, we're not doing it, made my decision. I can feel the weirdness. Like when people ask that question I'll explain my polite answer and they'll be like, it's just kind of like, oh, okay. Like, it's like, this is a weird thing. Like, I'm going to start telling people, it doesn't look that like fun.
Truly.
Some people are like, it's not all about fun. I'm like,
okay.
I can tell. Yeah. Like,
right. You're like, okay, if you don't want to have fun in your life, that's you, baby.
That's on you,
like
kid.
I said, $1.2 million yacht.
Yeah.
You tell me. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. No, but it is true. I think, and that's why another reason like dates go weird or people get weird about it. I'm like, they're looking for, I'm ready to settle down, or I want a girlfriend, I want a boyfriend. And then there's too much pressure on themselves, on the person.
Yep.
And it's like you can't compete with you. They can't compete by your standards of, what you're asking of them. It is a person you just met.
That's a great point.
It's a literal stranger.
Yeah.
That you just met.
And you're like, this is what I need. Because you're trying to control the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, think about the first day of school. You were going to make some friends.
Yeah.
You're going to have some awkward interactions. Maybe someone's going to pull your hair. Like, you're just feeling it out. Mm-hmm. Just go in there, feeling it out and see, okay, cool. If there's a spark, and that's very rare. I think that's the other thing, when you can like hit it off with someone, almost like it's okay that you didn't meet before because it feels like you already met.
Oh,
that's rare.
Yeah,
that's rare on a date. And I feel like that's what you should look for more so than like, and again, some people just want to go for a date for the free drink or the free meal. And
if the conversation is good, and I'm talking about non-sex, whatever, but the talk was good and I like got some good, that to me would still be a successful date. I'll pay for a date. I know some guys are like, if I ain't getting pussy, then it's like, but I would say the conversation would be, I hear some of these stories.
I'm like, did you make a new friend?
Of dudes like Venmoing girls for dates after the date, and that. What do you think of that? Like,
tacky, tasteless.
All right, but what if this person was objectively a horrible date? Like looking at her phone, one word answers, and then
I wouldn't ask to Venmo. Be upfront about it.
Oh, you're paying your own.
Yeah. Like why the after. Because then there was an afterthought. Like either you didn't want to come off as being, again, it's not cheap if you didn't have a great time. And I went on a date with someone and it's like we paid for our own shit and we're like, this was nice. Like, don't think we're interested in each other in this way.
Yeah.
Again, it's about having an adult conversation and like, it's only as awkward as you make it. But yeah, if they were terrible, then upfront be like, doo-doo. Yeah.
And also, and for a well-adjusted or however well-adjusted you could be girl, I feel like she would be like, we're going to pay separate bills because I don't want him thinking.
Literally.
That,
same.
Yeah.
Same. Because I'm like, look, if I didn't have a great time, or it just makes me, I don't know why. Some of my friends like, you shouldn't feel bad. They make, whatever to your dollar. I'm like, I get it. But I don't know. It's a respect thing. If it's just like a mutual...
Yes.
Like if I invited them, okay, it's on me. If it's drinks, if it's dinner, like, did they invite me? Whatever. Or if he's like, no, I'm like, are you sure? I'm quick to take my card out. I'm like,
yeah.
And if they insist, I'm like, say less.
Yeah.
If you insist, okay.
I like that. So what does the future hold for you? What do you think? What's the next fun, exciting thing you got going on?
Well, I have 4 weddings this year.
Oh, jeez. Gosh. Oh, 28 is still like, that's prime wedding guest. I'm 35. I'm done with the weddings.
You're out with the weddings.
There's like 2 weddings that I'm going to go to.
I'm excited. I'm excited for all of them because they're my friends. I'm in one of the wedding parties. This is the first one that I'm actually in.
That's good.
So to all the weddings I've gone before, I've always been the +1. And then to these, I'm like, I'm my own. +1. I get to bring a +1.
That's great. You would be a great person to go to a wedding with. Like because I wouldn't have to worry about. Yeah, you'll make.
I talk to Mima and Peepaw, Papa. It's all good. I'll help you even set up the buffet. Like we're chill.
I like that. So what is your every party has their archetype, right? Who are you at a social gathering? We'll end on this one.
I am definitely the person that gets people up to dance.
Oh yeah, you got that. Yeah. All right.
I went to a wedding with one of my friends. It was in the winter. It was closer to like Wilmington, and it was a fairly early affair. It started like 4 p.m. and dinner was around 6. But like no one was dancing. And again, this is Southern wedding. There was only wine and beer, so no tequilazos to like get people up.
Yeah.
And they had some like decent music and like no one, not even, I'm like, look, if you're in a bridal party and you're not getting people to the dance floor, you suck.
Oh, I like
Like that is your one literal job. You are the hype men and women.
Yeah.
You know, for the groom. So you're either getting them out and the bride and their families and, you know, whatever. You're making that a more lively situation. Yeah. So no one was dancing. And like, we were one of the few Hispanic people there. And I was like, you know what? I want to dance, but I'll be damned if I'm the only one dancing up there. So
was it mostly white people?
Yeah.
Oh, so they were like, oh, of course, these people are going to be the ones dancing first.
Yeah. So they like started making a little thing, and then I like convinced the groomsmen to go get like their people from their table and the bridesmaids to do the same. And then I got our tables like, come on guys, we're going to go. I'm like, no. I'm like, we're literally dancing right now. I'm like, this is the song. I'm like, you know, cause I didn't know them. I knew 0 people. I just knew my friend who I went, you know, I was his date. And I was like, Omar, get your people together. Get the football team up there.
Can you, are you one of those people that when someone's like, no, I'm good. Can you tell that they actually don't want to dance, so you leave them alone? Or do you like,
I'll just dance around them. What did my friend call me in high school? She's like, you're a pusher. I'm a pusher, but I'm like a friendly, aggressive pusher.
No, you're good. Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll make you do the thing you don't want to do, but you had fun at the end, so you don't like fault me.
That's
because
good.
you had a good time.
I like that take. That's a good place to be. That means you've convinced people and then you showed them the light.
That's right.
I love it. Crystal, do you have anything to promote? This is fun. Thank you for coming on.
Of course.
Yeah.
What do I have to promote? I don't know. If you want to come and see me, come to the Merchant for sure.
Oh, nice. And the Merchant is a bar in downtown Raleigh?
Yes. Yeah. So we're right above Virgil's. I really like it. It's a new speakeasy, sexy kind of vibe.
Oh,
so
nice.
it's a great date place because it has nice, like loungy, Great Gatsby vibes.
Yeah.
But you can talk and the drinks are pretty good if I do say so myself.
It sounds like a place with mixologists.
Yes, there are some solid.
They got that long fucking spoon.
We do have the fun spoons.
Yeah, that's
and
that's
the fun
good.
drinks.
I like that. Good date spot, the Merchant. Crystal, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, subscribe to the FredTalk podcast. Share my stuff. Spread the word. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.